seeking to attain power, difficult as it was by far the easiest of the tasks that I was faced with. The biggest task has now emerged: to rebuild the country, whose economic realities you know fully well. A monosectoral economy dependent throughout the history of the country on one commodity, diamond, which served us well, raised most of us here, took us to school, the best schools, provided healthcare, infrastructure, benefited us in the country immensely. And those who came before us managed this resource as best they could. But there was also a downside to this. It would appear that we tended to believe that the diamond revenue would always be coming. And we allowed ourselves to fall into the complacency of this over-reliance on diamonds until we were jolted out of that complacency by falling prices, the threat of synthetic diamonds, and we were woken from our sleepwalking by these harsh realities. We now had to wrestle with what we've always known all along. We must diversify the economy. We could have done it earlier under more hospitable circumstances. We did not. And I'm not raising this in order to ascribe any fault. I'm raising this to express a fact and a reality which faces us now. We did not diversify. At a certain point in the economy of the country, agriculture was contributing about 10% to the GDP. Where we sit now, I think it's at about 3%. Dangerous for any economy, any country. Very little, if any, manufacturing at all. No processing, even of the minerals that we produce. None whatsoever. We've also raised an overly dependent population that is also entitled. Well, they have never known strife. Unlike Zimbabwe, they've never suffered the war of liberation. They've never developed the resilience that hardship sometimes brings on a people. So you can't blame them when they expect government to keep doling. And so it creates a whole constellation of expectations on the part of the populace that government will always be the benefactor in a social welfare system. We are at a point now where the resources for funding the social welfare system are non-existent, or we have very little. Just to give you an example, electricity, which is generated by power producers, is then sold exclusively to the Botswana Power Corporation which then on-sells the power to the people. And government comes in there and subsidizes the cost of electricity. So it is supplied to BPC at a higher cost. It is sold at a lower cost to make it affordable and therefore accessible to the population. This subsidy comes to about $75 million every year. That's a huge amount of money. And it's an amount of money that the country now can ill afford. And in the next 2-3 years, the country will not be able to subsidize. It's a challenge, it's a reality. And people are looking at the government and the president and saying, he's going to make electricity more expensive than it has been. It is his problem, it is his fault. And they're watching to see what this president will do. Because if he makes it higher, we'll remove him, and they have the right to. And even where these realities are not quite fully understood. But that's not the only area where government intervenes by way of subsidizing in a clearly unsustainable way. There are many others. And the diamond revenue is not forthcoming. The next revenue earner is tourism. And you know the country operates high-end tourism, which itself has not been diversified within the tourism space. Of course, that means there's scope for more improvement, but there are structural challenges and constraints even there. We've had a challenge in the health space recently where there was, I don't want to call it shortages, there's just there were just no medicines in the government facilities. And when I inquired